welcome back to another video. So today I will be making a DIY vegan butterfly collection made entirely from paper that's cruelty free and fits into the Victorian aesthetic that I really love. Now this is my Pinterest board. As you can see, I have a lot of inspiration pics on here. This picture here, this pink, is actually the colour that my bedroom is at the moment, that I have been redecorating. Now I love maximalism style, I love walls that are filled with frames, and in particular taxidermy and butterflies are so beautiful to me, and they really do fit in with the Victorian aesthetic. It really fills up a room to have this kind of collective look. For example, Dita Fonteese's home has this massive tiger in the room. It's so cool looking. I mean, it's not to everybody's taste, and I know a lot of people don't like to have dead things around, but this project came out of that opinion also. I don't agree with taxidermy at all, and the process of it is just horrible, but they are beautiful, and I'm torn between loving it and wanting them, but not wanting to buy into the horrible process of it. So that's why I decided to make them out of paper. But before I fully settled on this project, I did try to see how much antique butterflies collections like this were. They're extremely expensive, so that's one reason not to buy them. But I still felt a little icky about possibly having loads of dead butterflies on my wall that were killed with probably dubious circumstances and definitely not cruelty free at all or ethical. But I did have a look at, is there such a thing as vegan taxidermy or ethical taxidermy? And there is. It is a little bit subjective of what ethical really means in this case, but general life cycle of a butterfly is about 1 to 2 weeks before they die. So in most cases with these ethically sourced taxidermy companies, they will be farming them in possible conservation sites which help plants and help the environment a little bit more. And after they die from their natural cycle, they are then collected and passed on to sellers. Specimens which are not caught and killed for the purpose of taxidermy is what ethical means. So as long as you're not purchasing butterflies that have solely been caught and killed for the purpose of taxidermy only, and they've just died natural deaths, I really don't see a problem with that at all. But if it's any other way, I wouldn't personally buy into it. And that goes for antique butterfly collections as well. But even with all this information, it is still incredibly hard to even verify what they're saying is true. I have heard within the industry that this is actually all a scam and they're not ethical at all. They're just saying that to get more sales. So let me know what you think on this subject in the comments. But if that's not you, then this video is for you, and if you have a bit of an arty flair, you might be able to actually make your own completely cruelty-free and completely death-free. So if you can't buy it, or you don't want to buy it, well, we're gonna just have to DIY it. So let's get into the video. So now that intro is done, sorry if you wanted to get straight into the video, but the first thing I wanted to do was get a shadow box, which is just a box with a little bit more depth and a sort of door on it that would open a little bit like the museum style boxes that you would get traditionally displaying taxidermy butterflies. So I found one on Amazon, and all these people were doing very nice little things in there, so I thought that was perfect. So I got that along with some thin wire as well. So the next step was just to paint all the butterflies that I wanted to showcase in my shadow box. I decided to use gouache for this project because it gives more of an opaque and vibrant finish to the pieces, and it just works. I find it easier to work with. So I just looked around online and found ones that I liked. I also had this inspiration pick, which I loved the variety of colours and tropical butterflies in, so I wanted to replicate that as much as possible. So I just used that as my inspiration and Google lensed a lot of the butterflies so I could find proper reference images. So here's a little time lapse of all the butterflies that I put together. I also have more in-depth videos of each individual one if you want to check them out on my channel. Some of these butterflies I actually painted to accurate sizing, like the big blue one and this yellow King Emperor butterfly, I think. But after that, it was on to cutting them out. So after I painted what seemed like butterflies forever, I had finally finished, and after scanning them all so I have a direct copy that I can make prints from in the future, it was time to cut them out. I also just kind of figured out that you could do this with pictures online of pre-mounted butterflies and just print them out and cut them out and do them the exact same process without this work. But I wanted to do this so I could also get prints out of it too. But yeah, so the next thing was to just cut them out very carefully. I just used scissors. I was going to use a scalpel blade, but this seemed to be easier. I also cut off the antennas doing this because I'm going to be replacing them with 3D antennas with the wire that I bought. So all in all, I have 25 butterflies that I had to cut out, and most of them were tropical butterflies and some were local breeds to my area, such as the peacock butterfly. But yeah, that's it. So here's a little time lapse of that process, which was quite relaxing. So at this stage I could finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. We were getting somewhere here. So the next stage was just to attach the antennas, which was this wire, which is like I think 0.05 mil wire or 0.3 mil wire. I just cut them to size and used hot glue on the backs of the butterflies and just attached. Really quite simple, worked pretty well. And then if they were a little bit uneven, I would just trim them, and so I did that with all of the butterflies as well. Pretty time consuming, but I think it really did add to the overall effect of the realism of these butterflies. So the next step was just a quick one really, was to just go over all the butterflies using a ruler on the edge of the wings and just folding them up slightly just to give them a more three-dimensional look, like they were once flying and now have been flattened. So it was just a small step, but added a little bit more to the 3D look. At this point they started to look really realistic and I was really impressed with how they started to turn out, and I started to play about with them and took some reels and trying to get some realistic shots of them, and it actually started to remind me of a film that I had seen called The Collector from 1965, which is a psychological horror about this butterfly collector who wanted to collect this woman. Now I won't spoil anything for you if you do want to watch it, but here are a few clips anyways.
This is a leaf butterfly. Looks just like two leaves. Red admiral, swallowtail, peacock.
They're beautiful. It's sad. How many butterflies have you killed?
I actually painted this exact breed of butterfly and thought I would recreate this scene, so I was just in my room with a towel on my head making this photo. There it is.
Death, don't you see? Nothing but death. These are dead. I'm dead. Everything here is dead. Is that what you love? Death.
So yeah, quick movie break over, give it a watch if you are interested, it's pretty good. So on to the next stage before assembly, which was to varnish up the shadow box that I had bought. Now originally it came with kind of very boring, slightly stained taupey colour, but I didn't like that, so I wanted to give it more of an old style look. So I picked up this walnut varnish by Ronseal and just painted 2 to 3 coats over that, and it worked perfectly. So this is how it turned out. Lovely, beautiful walnut stain, really looked like a museum box and the traditional ones that are used for insects. So yep, that was it. I did get a tiny little drop of varnish on the foam insert that's in here, that's covered in linen, but don't worry about that because I will be covering it over with butterflies, so it wasn't all too bad. It also comes with these really cute little brass finishes as well. So at this stage we were finally ready for assembly, and I had just placed all of the butterflies in the box just to see how they were looking, and they were looking amazing. I really didn't think they would turn out this nice, but they were really looking pretty realistic. So what I actually bought as well, which I forgot to mention, was these insect pins, which are the original ones that they would use for taxidermy. They're extremely thin. I just thought I'd buy them anyway just to kind of give it that proper look, but it turned out you didn't really notice in the end anyways. But they were actually a little bit too long for what I needed and wouldn't hold the butterflies in place so well, so what I did was trim them down to about half the size using pliers. After doing that, then I also just went on to arranging, which took quite a while. In the end, I just decided to use the reference image that I had at the beginning that I really liked and kept the big butterflies in the middle, and then just arranged them around until I thought they looked good together, which took a bit of time, but it was worth the extra effort, I think. I also took a picture of them on my phone just in case I forgot the layout for later. Then the next thing I needed to do was attach a little bit of foam on the underside to lift them up a little bit, give them more a 3D look and give them this shadow effect as well, so they weren't too flat in the box. This was just sort of some double sticky foam which you can get. This was originally for the underside of furniture to keep it from scratching floors, but I used it anyway. I also pre-pierced the holes in the butterfly paper with a thicker needle, and then I would just put the insect needle in and pierce that through the foam, and then I just placed them into where I wanted so I could just pin them in, and it worked pretty well. What I found with this was that when I had them all in the box and they were standing upright, they tended to like tilt downwards and droop a little bit, so I also attached some foam onto the sides of the wings and hot glued them into the box as well, just to make sure that they were extra secure and didn't tilt. This was honestly such a satisfying process to finally get them in place in the box, and they looked so great. I'm really happy with how this turned out, and I hope you enjoy this little reveal. So thank you all for watching. I really enjoyed doing this project, and I hope it inspired you to perhaps make your own cruelty-free butterfly taxidermy, or maybe even another animal, who knows. So if you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel, as I will be putting out a few more Victorian inspired DIYs soon. Also, let me know in the comments what you think about taxidermy and your opinions on it. I would love to know and create a little bit more of a discussion on it. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video of mine. Bye!